With me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order of business is the approval of our September 10th, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes. If there's no revisions, additions, edits, I'll entertain a motion.
Sent Stephanie one editorial change that changes Plan Commission to Architectural Review Committee, where the hatch developments were discussed.
All right, yep.
I think it's editorial.
Make a motion to approve the September 10th Town Council meeting minutes.
Second?
It's been a first and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, at this time, excuse me. I'll open up for any public comment for any non-agenda items. We'll limit that to 2 minutes. And if you come up, please give your name and spell your last name for the record. Do we have any non-public?
I'm Dottie Salisbury, S as in Sam, A-L-S-B-U-R-Y. 9260 Brookfield Avenue. We live in Fitness Park Development, and we're still concerned about the excessive noise from Daniel's Vineyard. The noise issue was removed from the nuisance ordinance at the last meeting, and there does not appear to be anything on the agenda for tonight regarding that, so we're wondering what is being done and what are the plans moving forward.
Let me ask you, what would you like to be done?
I would like there to be some, something that would curtail the loudness of that music. The decibel level at this point still shakes the house windows. So you can't hear TV, you can't really converse, and I think that's excessive. Therefore, I would like there to be some lowering of that decibel, or a berm, or some kind of barrier.
Well, I can guarantee that we haven't forgotten about it, and we've had numerous discussions about it. We're having difficulty coming into, you can see head shaking as we've sat through meetings and kind of chased our tail a little bit. I think it's interesting that Fisher's is having some of the same issues, that they had a very high level set for decibels. I think it's 90 decibels. And suddenly, when they started developing their downtown area and having restaurants and so on, that 90 decibel level was way too high for the residents above. And so the mayor of Fishers has stepped in, and he's basically proposed lowering that level to 70 decibels and measuring it within 10 feet of the business. But you can see other communities are having some of the same issues, and I understand your frustration. I know from outside it looks like we're not doing anything in addressing the problem, but there's 4 or 5 of us up here can say that we've had some heated discussions.
And an update on the Fishers one, that went to their city council last night. They amended it to 80 from 90, and then it failed last night. So they're back to just leaving their current 90 in place and back to the drawing board. So it is not an easy answer, and it's a difficult situation, not just for us, but for every community, how to deal with these kind of situations.
Is that within 10 feet of the noise?
Theirs is within 50 feet of the property line of the person, we'll call him offender, but generator. So within 50 feet of the property line.
So that's what I am, is a generator?
No, in what you're describing, you're calling Daniels the generator.
So something is being done.
Yes, and believe me, we're not going to. We haven't forgotten about it, and we continue to meet and try to come up with some resolution, because we're always wrestling between how do we meet the needs of the individual homeowners, plus, but allowing people to do, live their life. And so there's this balance, and we're wrestling with where in between those extremes do we draw the line.
And the other thing is you can't be selective. So whatever we apply, it has to be applied equally among all residents. So it's, this is the second council that's had to wrestle with this issue, so but it's not just as easy as curtailing noise. It's, okay, how does that apply? Whatever decision we make, how does that apply to this residence, this neighborhood, this business, and it has to be covered. And, there's a lot more research that we're having our legal counsel look into right now that I know a couple of council members have directed them to. So it is it's not something, you're not going to see anything solved in the next 2 or 3 months. I'll say that much. It's probably going to be in the early next year after we have a lot more in-depth research done.
We'll keep asking.
All right.
And we do appreciate you reminding us.
Okay. I also met another neighbor who was not told by Drees about the noise before they purchased their home. So
Yeah, unfortunately, it's on the plat, so they've legally disclosed it to you. So, yeah,
got it.
thank you. All right, committee reports. Are there any other non-agenda items? Okay. Committee reports. Parks Board.
Did
First
not
up.
meet. We will meet on the 22nd of October,
All right.
I think.
Redevelopment Commission, we did not meet. We will have a meeting, was it November?
Currently scheduled for the Monday before, the 10th?
Yes.
No, not, is that right? No, I'm a week off. The 4th.
The 4th. So, it
And that
might
will-
change based off the election.
It might change, and if it is on the 4th, it'll be in the police meeting room because this will be for election.
Right. Vernon Township Fire Committee, I was unable to make it due to an injury, but Chief Elder, do you want to give a report on the Vernon Township Committee? I didn't prepare you, but you don't have to. You just want to give some highlights.
Highlights, pretty uneventful meeting. We updated our policies for 2024. We received information back from Insurance Service Office of our rating. We went from a 5 to a 4. However, I've sent them some additional information, and I believe we will actually increase it yet again to a 3. But we're in a holding pattern there. And do I need to repeat all that?
No, no, you're fine.
But other than that, if there's any questions for the fire.
I actually have more of a, not a question, but could you explain why the ISO rating is so important
Yeah, the
for
ISO
residents?
For it's residents and commercial. Anybody that has insurance on a piece of property, the majority, and I can't give you the percentage, but the majority of the rates that you pay for are evaluated by ISO or the Insurance Service Office. So they come into a community, they look at all aspects of fire protection. So not just the fire department, they look at the water companies, they look at our dispatch center, they look at our code enforcement, everything. And so they take all this criteria and based on fire department's training, number of personnel they have on hand, number of fire stations, they tabulate that all together with a bunch of different formulas, which I can't explain to you, but and that's how they come up with the fire department's rating. So we were a 5 right after we merged and became Vernon Township Fire Department from the 2 separate volunteer departments. And then we've worked with the report that we got from that evaluation to improve. We did improve to a 4, however, I think we will actually improve to a 3.
Yeah.
And
That's
ISO ratings are like golf, right? Lower is better.
The lower the score, the better you are.
So I want to go 5 to 4, that's better.
That is better. Yes, we did improve, and I think we will improve, and as we continue to grow, we get another, at this point in time, I think the only way we'll improve higher than what we will be at is by adding stations and personnel. So,
Thanks, Chief, appreciate
You're
it. Metropolitan Police Board.
Yeah, so we met, we actually got to see the swearing in of 2 new officers, so Officer Trent Carter and William Farrell. That puts us at 19 out of the 20 spots that we have budgeted for, so
Good.
we're pretty much there. Officer Boxberger also got promoted to sergeant. Chief reviewed upcoming purchases that we're going to need for the officers, such as rifles, the Heart Smart AEDs and tasers, and also vehicles that we're going to need to purchase next year and outfitting those vehicles. We plan on them being able to move into the building in between the election and Thanksgiving. Just as a reminder to the public, the police station will have a public ribbon cutting on October 21st.
Thank you. Public Works Committee.
Extremely short meeting, probably the fastest in history. So we revised our some snow policy language that we had. The old language was a little outdated, and we had a brief discussion on traffic flows with Railroad Street with Culver's opening.
Okay. All right. Architectural Review Committee.
Did not meet.
All right. Plan Commission.
Planning Commission did meet. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, and neither was Chad, so, but there was one topic, and it was dealing with Sycamore Drive PUD. There were some modifications to the PUD talking about fences and allowing additional fences for backyards.
Yep, and you'll see that in more detail tonight.
All right.
So it was approved.
Recommended.
Recommended. All right. Okay, at this time, we'll move to the consent agenda. If there's anything on the consent agenda that any council member would like to remove and put into new business.
I would like to bring a few things to attention that got put on late.
Okay.
G and H, we realize is our intent because of the election to most likely cancel the November Public Works Commission meeting. That being said, there was in the capital projects budget to replace the Ford F-450, and we had quotes, but we had missed the last Public Works Commission, so we put it on the council agenda so that we can keep that moving forward so we can have those trucks by the new year. Our F-450 that will be turned in is actually in the dealership needing repair, new brake lines right now. So we had $100,000 in the capital projects plan, and this is 64 plus a trade, so it's well below what's budgeted. And then the accessories, the snow plow, salt box, and all that stuff that goes with it is there on H as well. And that is coming out of DPW budget. That was not in the capital projects plan, so they're shifting some money to cover that, to have that done by the end of the year. And then also point out F, which was a annual donation request we received from Zoe's Place, and Chief Casey has handled this out of his budget the last couple of years, and we just would like a formal approval to go ahead and pay that donation from the police budget.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
It's been a first and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda passes 5-0. Okay. Old business. These are all second readings. These were covered at the last town council meeting. The first one is ordinance number 100824C. This is the Vernon Township Library budget. I know it was presented by Michael Reuter last week or last month. Any questions for Ashland? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve ordinance 100824C, Vernon Township Library budget for 2025.
Second.
There's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 100824C, the Vernon Township Library budget for 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next order of business is ordinance number 100824D, Town of McCordsville budget 2025. Again, if you have questions, Tim can answer, but again, Michael Reuter gave us our financial report last council meeting.
I move we approve ordinance 100824D, Town of McCordsville budget 2025.
Second.
It's been a first and second to approve ordinance number 100824D, Town of McCordsville budget for 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right. New business. I'll let Tim handle this. We have a trash fee study. As you guys know, we're looking at changing our trash provider, and so part of that, we have to do a rate study, and this is the funding.
So we approved the bid from Priority last, was it last meeting now? And in that time, the next steps to that were to do because this is a utility of the town, trash utility of the town, we're required to do a rate study, and I have Ross Hagan from Baker Tilly, if you go up to the mic, to look at the different rates based on the approval of Priority's bid. So we've laid out a few different options, and we'd like to explain the different scenarios. And what we're looking for from the council tonight is to tell us which route they would like to go so that we can then bring the utility ordinance back next month with updated rates moving forward.
Okay. Hey everyone, Ross Hagan with Baker Tilly, and I'll walk you through that study that we prepared for the updated trash fees. So like Tim had mentioned, we provided a couple different scenarios for the council to consider. We've broken down on our first page here at kind of for a single rate adjustment. So if we did it kind of all at once, no phased in rate adjustment. Two options. One that's no administrative costs. This is just the cost of the contract with Priority. And then administrative costs included, which is kind of how your current rates are structured, keeping in mind that was with your last trash contract. So this would incorporate some of the costs that you would incur administratively to be able to, have a trash utility. So that would be things like billing costs, postage costs, whatever various costs that you may have there that you would incur, which is not a lot of administrative costs. We've got some here. So I'll walk you through just the no administrative costs first and then switch to the administrative costs.
Quick note on the administrative costs.
Yep.
We tried to keep that as low as possible. We obviously want to keep our rate as low as possible. So some of that is the staffing. We used a third of our utility coordinator's salary and benefits, and then mostly just postage and startup costs that we would have. So we try to minimize that. You could technically get into who's spending time on what utility. We didn't want to do that in that scenario. So.
Yes, clarification. Okay. No administrative cost scenario. So in this, we've got a couple different options for you here. The first is, base bid only. So what we're doing here is just taking the average base bid cost. So that Priority contract, that bid is an 8-year bid. We've essentially taken, the center point of that. So the average over that 8 years, which would be about $13.90. So if you did just the no administrative cost scenario, we're only incorporating the base bid there. It would be $13.90 would be the proposal. We've got alternative 2, which is the base bid plus that biweekly curbside recycling alternative that was bid out in the contract. Mm-hmm. So the biweekly curbside, the average is an additional $334 per month. So that would take you to $17.24 per month per resident for that no administrative cost scenario. And then finally, tacking on your alternative 3, which is spring and fall yard waste pickup, that's an additional 57 cents per resident on average across the life of that contract. So that would take you to all in if you did base bid plus biweekly curbside recycling plus spring and fall yard waste pickup to $17.81. So just a tick under $18 per resident if you went with that scenario. Administrative cost scenario. So what we're doing here at the top, and Tim mentioned what they were. I won't run through them all, but essentially we're adding up all those administrative costs that we chose to kind of share within this scenario with the trash fee. That comes out to about $34,000, so $34,100 per year on average through the life of that contract. We take that number and we divide it by your annual customers. So that's based on your current trash customer count, 4,212 customers times 12 months to get an administrative cost per customer. That's 67 cents. We take that 67 cents and add it to each of those numbers that I just went through in the no administrative cost scenario to give you the options of $14.57 for the base bid under the administrative costs. For the base bid plus biweekly curbside, that's $17.91. And then finally, if you did all 3 base bid, curbside recycling, spring and fall yard waste pickup with the administrative costs, it'd be $18.48 would be what you'd be looking at.
And this scenario is locking in a rate for the residents for 8 years.
Yep.
So we're averaging it out for 8 years. This will be the rate for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
So we're currently paying, just so we know, $13.98 a month, correct? And that's for one bin and no curbside recycling.
No curbside, but the recycling
Well,
back
but-
here is factored in.
Right, but currently with the residents paying $13.98 for trash pickup once a week, no yard waste, no curbside recycling option. It's all so. And,
This would include 2 bins.
Two bins.
And the curbside recycling.
well,
To be clear, one provided bin and an option for them
Correct.
to either purchase another bin for the entire, there's not a monthly fee to it.
Right.
So, but they
Yeah.
will pick up 2 bins per household.
so each household could technically, if they do recycling, that's included, right? A recycling bin.
Yes.
They don't,
and-
they're
and
not paying for
recycling
that.
bin, yeah, and Alex Lipinski's here for the next one from Priority if you have direct questions, but you are correct.
So-
Everyone will get 2 bins right away, and they have an option to either utilize a bin they already have, or it's a one-time fee, and then it's good through the whole service.
Yeah. I was under the impression that you could have 2 of each kind.
Actually, I think that is what it says, yeah. They only provide 1 of each, but you can have 2 of each. They will pick up 2 recycling bins and 2 garbage bins.
So you'd have to pay for the second of
Yes.
each?
You don't pay for the service, but you have to purchase
Not for
the
the
bin.
service, but you have to purchase the bin.
Yeah, so you could have up to 4 bins sitting in front of your house.
He's shaking his head, yes.
No.
So it's a lot more curbside service. Now, if you have a spot to put 4 bins is a whole other issue.
And they're all the 96-gallon bins?
95?
Okay.
You can come up if you want.
And the other thing I liked about it is you can have weekly bulk pickup.
Yes, yes.
Unlike today where you get 1 per month. You do have to give them 48 hours notice, but still, it's a nice feature.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that last part, sorry.
it's weekly bulk pickup, correct? 1 item?
They can, yeah, any amount, you call it in 48 hours prior to your regular service day, and it's $10 per item.
You get 1 free though, right?
No,
No. I thought we did. I'll look that up while you guys are talking about rates. Hold on.
But I guess my point is, I'm looking at, I mean, the question's gonna be why you're going from 1398 to, if we went with the the third option, 1848. You know, but it's locked in, I mean, for 8 years, you're not gonna see an increase. I think you're getting more curbside service, obviously, than having to load up everything, come down here, hope that the bins aren't full when you get down here,
It's
right?
at no
So-
additional charge.
oh, okay.
48 hours. There is additional bulk items are $10. You were correct.
Yeah,
I do have a
But the
question.
first one's not.
Tim, how would that be billed? If there's an additional bulk item? Because the town's billing us for the trash, so. Does the town incur that charge and then we have to hope to be reimbursed from the resident? Or are they
No.
billing the resident directly?
the resident would either call in or schedule it online,
Okay.
and then when you schedule it, you pay for it then.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
I like the concept of coming in with a base bid with no administrative costs, which is locked in for 8 years for our residents at a cost very slightly less than what it currently is. And I'm somewhat opposed to buying additional services for people who may not need them, but who can obviously get them out of their own pockets elsewhere if they need them, or they could add on. So I'd like to have the lowest mandatory cost possible imposed on our residents.
I can understand that. I think the survey that we did, and I'm recollecting from memory, like there was overwhelming support for us to do curbside recycling, if I
There-
remember correctly.
Yeah, there was, I don't remember the exact numbers, we had it on the last meeting, but some form of recycling, whether it was continuing this back here or curbside, most people said they'd prefer curbside if it was offered
Yeah.
to them.
But those people that want it could add it on, right?
No,
Contract for
it's-
it
No, it's all or
It's all.
nothing.
would have to
The-
be
The rate
in this
Because
is,
it's amortized.
assuming
amongst
everyone
all
gets
the
it.
residents.
so,
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's à la carte service
not.
on this one. It's, we need to either decide that we want to go with, like you said, Dr. Bring one can and one pickup, or
it's
kind of
it's
go
the
back.
advantage of bidding it as a town-wide, you
Right.
get bulk rates that way. We should probably let Ross finish
Yeah,
the rate
sorry.
rate presentation. We kind of jumped into the next item.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
yeah, the next page, basically we've taken the same approach, but we've given you an option of doing this across 2 phases. So phase 1 would essentially be what would be in place from years 1 to 4 of the contract. Phase 2 would be in place from years 5 to 8, taking the same approach of kind of averaging the costs across those phases. So those kind of costs that you see in phase 1, those are representing average costs in years 1 to 4, whereas the phase 2 is average costs of years 5 to 8. It's the same kind of cost components, just different time periods they're covering. Just to summarize what that kind of results in, I'll take the first column and the third column together and the second and the fourth together because those are kind of what pair together. So no administrative costs, phase 1, years 1 to 4, you'd be looking at a $13.08 base bid per household. No administrative costs, so if